This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. So, very welcome to today's session. Hope everybody is doing well. So, today we are going to start. Now, remember what I said yesterday. We are going to solve some questions. So, I am sure you must be having. Let's have pen and paper, and today we'll try to write some answers. Okay. How many of you have gone through the notes which was given yesterday? How many of you have gone through the notes? I just want to know. So, since you have gone to the notes, I want you to practice answer writing. And today I'm giving two questions here, and there'll be model answer also, and I'll be discussing how to approach these questions. So from today onwards, we are going to discuss at least 2-3 questions every day on the previous year questions. Okay. So your time starts now. You have the pen and paper, and the question is the first question. The first question talks about: do you agree with the view that steady GDP growth and low inflation have left Indian economy in good shape? Give reasons in support of your arguments. That's question number 1. This 10 marker. While we flaunt India's, question number 2, while we flaunt India's demographic dividend, we ignore the dropping rates of employability. What are we missing while doing so? Where will the jobs that India desperately needs comes from or will come from? Explain. Okay, so your time starts now. Start writing. So you have total time that you'll get to write answer is 15 minutes. Remember, 15 minutes is what you'll get. 7.5 minute and 7.5 minute. Your time starts now. Start writing. So it is 7:35. By 7:50, you have to start. And I want everybody to start there on the camera so that I can see you whether you're writing or not. Okay, from tomorrow onwards, your camera should also be ready, because we'll do a lot of answer writing. All the people who are targeting mains next year, we'll do such live sessions very regularly and consistently. So the camera should be on, the students. If the setup is not ready, make sure the setup is ready. Okay. The camera should be on. Okay, good. Okay, I can see some people. Your time starts now. You have 15 minutes to write this answer. 2 questions, 7.5, 7.5 minutes. Start immediately. We have 8 more minutes. Okay, so you have another 5 minutes. Okay, guys, I hope the time is over. Now, this is what you get in the mains exam, 7.5 minutes for one question. So, as a benefit of doubt, you'll get one more minute. You can complete your answers. Okay, the time is over. Thank you very much. Everybody, please stop writing. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Stop it now. Now, this is what you get. So, though normally when you're writing 20 answers, you tend to stretch in one question because it is possibilities there that you might not be knowing all the answers. Now, but let's see this question. Now, this is a PYQ, but this question I have taken because it's highly contemporary. In the last 2-3 years, what we have witnessed, the inflation has moderated and India's GDP growth has been steady. In fact, after COVID, the growth rate, last time the growth rate was, last year was 8.2%, then 7%, then 9%. So we have a very steady growth rate along with moderation of inflation. Inflation was high, close to 5-6%, but that has moderated in the recent time. Now, if you look at this question, it is highly contemporary. Even though this is few years, the question is old. It is before COVID. So do you agree with the view that steady GDP growth and low inflation have left the Indian economy in good shape? The answer is yes. But before going ahead, how do you start it? That's the first step. So the first step is introduction. You write an introduction. Now, what do you write in the introduction? Very simple. The model answer I have given already. I'll share it with you. But you start with the introduction stating that as per the recent data, the India's GDP growth has been consistently on a steady path with 7% plus growth rate. Also, the inflation has moderated in the last 2 years with, you can give the recent data also, average inflation data. So what, now here I want to tell you that you need to know the data numbers if you want to write the answer. So you can start the introduction stating very basic, explaining the topic or maybe or reaffirming the topic. You reaffirm the whatever is being said because it is a right statement and you can add with the data. Okay. So as per recent economic data, India's GDP growth has been consistently steady with averages 7% plus, and the inflation is also moderate in the last 2-3 years. In fact, the core inflation is on the lower side. So inflation targeting range, we already know it is 4 plus minus 2%. So inflation range has to be between 2 to 6%. Now inflation has moderated and it is believed that if the inflation is in this range, this mild inflation is good for the economy, it will sustain the growth rate. Now question comes, so you will add an introduction like this. So let me share the answer with you. Okay, this is the model answer which I have prepared. As per the recent GDP growth and relatively low inflation have positioned Indian economy on a sound macroeconomic footing, though structural challenges remain. So again, you can also question it. Here you can add a data. You can add a data. And the overall economic fundamentals reflect resilience, especially amidst the global uncertainty. So this answer has been written from the current context. So you can just add one line and one data. Now the second statement would be a little longer, but since it's an answer, model answer, so I have taken the liberty to add more number of words. Now, so there are two parts of the answer. Now coming to the body part. Now what do you write in body? Now here what I'll do, normally in answers, if you have, now you can write body. You don't have to write body. I mean, I'm just putting body. So body, you can make a flow chart. You can easily make a, now in this question, you can make a flow chart. Okay. So GDP growth and moderation of inflation. Moderation of inflation. Now here you have to give a data. The GDP growth of 8.2%, 2023-24. Okay. I think last year was 7% and then 9%. So you can suggest that data, the GDP growth is on the higher trajectory. You can also write second highest in the world. if you know it. In some years the growth was highest. So average, among, or you can say among the highest. Among the highest. Then moderation and inflation. So here again you have to give a data. Inflation, the range is 5 to 6%, with core inflation around 4%. What is core inflation? Inflation without food and fuel. Also WPI has been on the negative trajectory. The inflation for the manufacturing items, all they are also, in some period it was below, very low. So the inflation is moderated and the growth is there. Now you can make a flow chart, you can explain one line, make a flow chart, and you can interlink thing. So you can interlink thing like this, and then you can discuss. For example, now let's see. So I have, now here also you can also add that India's GDP growth. So you can also add here, India is the 5th largest economy in the world and we are projected to be 3rd largest. But again, remember, we have time limitation, word limitation also. So real GDP growth has been consistently very high, and there is a huge, or you can say very strong and positive COVID recovery. Now, the second part, the moderation inflation. Now, what do? You can answer the one part, then second part, and interlink it. Or you can make a flow chart, explain it one part, explain the other part, interlink it, and do the analysis. Okay, do the analysis stating that India has been able to maintain or sustain as per the, so we can understand that India's GDP growth has been. Now here you can see average inflation 5.4%, RBI tolerance range, and also WPI inflation is the negative territory, and RBI's monetary policy has also, the repo rate in the last 1 year has reduced, right? So today the repo rate is also on the lower side, and overall you can add here, overall strong macroeconomic fundamentals. Strong macroeconomic fundamentals, and further you can say the CAD, current account deficit, is low. You can also talk about fiscal deficit. So there is a also further fiscal consolidation. What is fiscal consolidation? Fiscal consolidation means the deficit in the economy is reducing, and current account deficit has also moderated. It is around 0.7% right now, current account deficit. Now people who have not read economy, they might not, but if you have read the basic class, you will be able to understand. So CAD is also around 0.7, 0.6%, less than 1%. So CAD is less than 1%. Fiscal deficit is consolidated, and high tax buoyancy. High tax buoyancy. What do you mean by tax buoyancy? Tax is buoyant, which means the tax collection is good. It is more than the growth rate. Okay. So if it is 1. So these are these fundamentals are suggesting that Indian economy is doing well. The inflation has moderated, the GDP is doing well, and thereby automatically these are the also supporting data information that is available. Now when you look at the model answer here, इसमें मैंने कुछ points, some points I've added. Also employment you can also add. You can add employment also. The unemployment level is close to 2%. Two to 3. Okay. So this is how you write the answer, and when you give the data, you are substantiating your arguments with facts. Then further what you can do is that you can add. You can also talk about certain challenges. However, there are certain challenges, for example, high food inflation, structural challenges, moderation of rural demand, or you can say low public consumption. No, consumption data is positive right now. Youth unemployment is on the higher side. Sluggish private investment. Now you remember, you are using the technical words. So sluggish private investment, wide income inequality, regional disparities. Now here you can give a Oxfam data, which I discussed yesterday, that 1% of India's population they control 40% of India's wealth. The bottom 50% of India's population, they have just 3% of India's wealth. So these are the challenges. We have structural challenges, backward agriculture. These are the challenges also. So you can just write in a in 1 or 2, 3 lines, you can summarize it, and then you can come to the conclusion. While GDP growth and inflation tends to be, fastest growing economy, stable economies, what there is a need of the hour is to, have an inclusive growth, employment generation, and social investment to be able to attain the goals of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. Like this, you can close the conclusion, right? So that is how. Now remember, these things will come with a lot of practice. These things will come with a lot of practice, and always try to define things in a very simple manner. So what do you do? Whatever your notes are there, whatever your notes are prepared, revise them. Be very thorough. Your class notes, be very thorough. Your primary source, be very thorough. The model answer that you read, you can update in the data. Revise it multiple times. I have just put few points. I can add more points also. You can go on ChatGPT, or you can just search on the internet and you can add more points. But that is not the key. So remember, you are writing in 7-8 minutes. Now here, it does not matter if you have a lot of content. If you have just 8 points and you can write 7 points in the answer, it will work. Many times students tend to study from multiple sources and they don't know. They are trying to mug up a lot of points, but revision is weak and they are not able to write good answer. So even though you understand the question conceptually and you have analytical sense, but still you need multiple revision and the keys, the keywords on your tips, the fact data on your tips. So you have to make a conscious effort to memorize the facts by reading it multiple times. You're getting my point? You're getting my point, right? So understand the constraint under which you are writing. If you are writing, the constraint is that you don't have time. So the points have to be to the point. The summarized note should be there. The fact data should be there. It should be collated and multiple revision. Personally, I believe that writing such answer would require an iteration of at least 4 to 5 times. 4 to 5 times revision before going to the mains exam. Now, this is a common problem where aspirants face challenges. Now, if you're writing regularly, now these things will come very naturally. Okay. For example, you have understood the concept, you have data, but for writing a good answer, you have to do multiple revisions. Okay. This is the key. So it is not about studying more, it is about studying less and being more effective. And believe me, the day you start doing it, you are ahead of the crowd. You are ahead of the crowd. Very few people know how to write. Writing such answers probably are not more than 500-600 people in India are actually knowing this to do that. Others are just trying to reach there. And the people who are writing mains right now, 15,000 people are writing mains, close to 15,000. But in that, I'm telling you my own experience, more than 10,000 people don't know how to write. So the competition is among 3,000-4,000. Among that also, maybe 15-20% people are actually in the contention, the race, whose syllabus is ready, all those things. So anyway, so that is not the point. The point here is that you understand the constraint of answer writing, understand the constraint of time, and thereby reading more is not important, reading less and effective is more important. Okay, let's see the question number 2. I hope this is clear to everybody. Question number 2. How many of you have written the answer? I want to know. How many of you were able to complete the answer? Complete it, close to it. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Now, so question number. Now, while we flaunt India's demographic dividend, we ignore the dropping rates of employability. So the keyword is here demographic dividend, and what are we missing while doing so? Where will the jobs that India desperately needs come from? Explain. So demographic dividend means that India has a huge working age population, and as per the data, around 65% of India's population under age of 30, and by 2030 we are expecting that 68% of the population would be in the working age population. So this working age population can be productive. However, there are challenges. Okay, so you have to explain the median age in India is 29. Median age means if you divide population into 2 parts, the age which will divide the population into 2 parts. So 29, 50% people in India are less than 29 and 50% people are more than 29. So we have, this is a demographic advantage, a window which will be available maybe once in a life cycle of the population growth. And this window is only for maybe 20 years. By 2055 is the window. So next 2-3 decades is a phenomena or phase where we witness huge number of young population who will be in the working age. But this is a demographic advantage. However, this advantage can be harnessed only if we have the workforce is productive. It is skilled. It is, it is able to maybe add to the economy. If it is future, remember yesterday we discussed about future ready workforce. So if it is future ready workforce, it is resilient. Okay. So how do you start the answer? Very simple. India is projected to have world's largest working age population, and this will lead to high economic growth, accelerate So demographic dividend means the working age population will add to the economic growth, and however there are challenges of low employability and skill mismatch. So what are the challenges? So again, how do you start it? You start with demographic dividend definition with data, and but in the end you also add, but there are issues of low employability and skill or lack of real skills. Okay, so low employability. Now in spite of the fact, so you have again introduction, you write introduction. Now introduction has to be 2-3 lines, as I mentioned. You can start, you can give the data also. The data has to be contemporary, or you can start with the data itself. Many times the data statement will be introduction. As per the recent demographic data, 65% India's population is under the working age, which is a huge advantage and add to the economic growth of the country. However, there are limitations in terms of low employability, skill mismatches, and other issues. Now here you come to the body. Now what do you write in a body? So you can list the points. The first point is low employability. Okay, skill mismatch. It is also called as structural unemployment, which means the skill which market requires and skill which we have, they are not able to meet, they are not able to match. Okay, so you have data, you can use the data. As per India's skill report, 51.3% graduates are only half of the graduates are employable, and 60% engineers are not industry ready. Okay, education is degree centric, not skill centric. Lack of practical training. Then in agriculture, we have an issue of disguised and underemployment. Okay, disguise means there are more people than required in the agriculture, and underemployment means again you are underemployed, you are not fully utilized. For example, if you work for 8 hours, you are employed, but if you work for 5 hours, you are underemployed. Or the person who is highly skilled is working in a low skill job. You are an engineer, but you are working as a clerk. You are MBA, but working as a peon. So that is underemployment. So disguised and underemployment, this is prevalent. Okay, so you can give the information. 45% of workforce are engaged in the agriculture, and also you can add here the challenges of gig and. Now if I talk about employment challenges, the other challenges of employment are informalization of labor. What do you mean by informalization of labor? That labor is informal in nature. You are not getting formal jobs. The second is gig workers. Okay, that is poor social security. Now gig is in the formal economy, but the people who are getting job are basically they do not have adequate social security. So again, the nature of job, the nature of employment. Okay, then low female labor force participation, less than world's average. In India, it is around 40%, world's average is 60%. Then of course the digital divide. So you can add these points, but remember, any of these points without real data will not be helpful. And I want points like structural unemployment. One more point you can add here is low employment elasticity. Now, though this data has changed, employment elasticity. Okay, it is 0.2 to 0.3%. Okay, which means every 1% GDP growth, employment growth is 0.2 to 0.3%. Though, but it has improved to 1.11%. So low employment elasticity. Now this shows there is a jobless growth. How do you prove the growth is jobless? Because recent data of the government is saying that no, we have moved from jobless growth to job creation scenario, jobless growth to inclusive growth, which is creating jobs. Okay, so these are the challenges of this. Also, you can add more points. It is not in the model answer. There are issues like feminization of labor, feminization of workforce. Now, it is good also and bad also. Feminization of workforce means female are getting into the more in the workforce, but it is bad because of disparity of wages. Women are not getting right wages, disparity of wages, exploitation, harassment, poor work culture, all those things are there, and that is prevalent in all sectors, majorly in the agriculture and the low income jobs. So when we are looking at the data, now remember the model answer does not have so much points, but I have added the points from my own side. So the point I want to make here is that the key words like employment elasticity, feminization of workforce, structural unemployment, disguised unemployment. When you add these keywords, I want you to add these keywords in your answers. So whenever you're revising, make sure these keywords are understood. Okay, understood. Try to bring them in the answer. Try to these keywords. Low employability. These are keywords. Your body should have should start from subheadings like these, and of course data. Now, more you revise, the better it gets. Okay. Again, we are writing either exam, we are writing mains. We still have time. We can revise it. So maybe study only 5 points, but make sure the all 5 points are ready. You're getting my point? You're able to understand, right? So this is what you have. You tend to see in the mains examination. Time is not there. Clear hua everybody? I hope this is clear to everybody. Then when we talk about the questions, so we have answered the first question, demographic dividend. We flaunt, but we are dropping rates of employability. We have discussed that. What are we missing here? We are missing here that the employment in India is not so good. The average income is less. There are structural problems, low skill or skill mismatch, and of course disguised form, informalization of labor, casualization of labor, low female participation. That means gender inclusion is not there in the workforce relatively. It is improving. So this is the first part. The second part is, where will the jobs that India desperately needs come from? So basically we are looking at how do you generate employment? Okay, employment generation. Need of the hour. You can add here 1 million people added to workforce every month or labor force. So every month we are adding how many people? Every month we are adding 10 lakh people to the labor force. These are new people who are looking for job every month. So you can imagine the extent of challenges that Indian economy has. So where will the job come from? The first is from capital intensive to labor intensive growth. Now our growth is highly capital intensive. We are investing, but we want labor intensive. From capital intensive to labor intensive employment. Because in capital intensive job creation is not happening, but in labor intensive job creation is happening. You can give here textile sector, MSME, promotion of MSME. Okay. Now government is promoting toy industry. Okay, so all these. So this is the first point, from capital intensive to labor intensive. Again, when you're writing, subheadings are very important. This is the first point. The second point is service sector to be boosted. Now these service sector can be employment generation. For example, you can add here cultural and religious tourism. Now this will create a lot of jobs, already creating. So tourism can be a very huge opportunity which can create jobs. Also, you can add government schemes here. For example, here you have Make in India, PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme, or you can also add Skill India, because we are looking at the skill mismatch is also a problem. The second is green growth. Okay, the second part is green growth and promotion of digital economy. So we are witnessing the growth of digital economy. Now this is a huge opportunity. So green growth means EV led vehicles, okay, energy generation, or you can say energy transition, or green energy transition. Okay, you can give the data. Now this has, as per Niti Aayog, 30 million jobs can be created by 2047. Okay, so these are the job creation which might happen. Then digital public infrastructure, digital economy, digital growth, digital public infrastructure. Now here we have, where will the jobs come from? Digital public infrastructure, ONDC, UPI, India Stack, DigiLocker, okay, high internet penetration, these will create jobs. Then coming to the sectors which are highly labor absorbing, for example, infrastructure growth. Okay, so example, you can use here three schemes. One is National Infrastructure Pipeline, National Monetization Pipeline, and PM Gati Shakti. So National Infrastructure Pipeline, 111 lakh crore. National Monetization Pipeline, to monetize, to invest. So infrastructure growth rate. Now this is labor absorbing. Also in the digital economy, you can say the AI, Industry 4.0, the new, remember the future ready workforce. So the topics that you have, you can pick pointers from there and add in your notes. You're getting right? I hope you are able to understand. Then promotion of public health and education services. Okay, for example, employing doctors, nurse, or you can add here government schemes. Okay, what are the government scheme? Promotion of, or you can say the public health infrastructure. You have Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, you have National Health Mission, you have creation of social security for people under Ayushman Bharat. All these will require, we have to employ new doctors, new nurses. We have to look at as per WHO norms. Now the data here, you can look at the data. As per WHO norms, 2.4 million additional doctors and nurses by 2030 has to be created. Then promotion of MSME, promotion of MSME led growth, MSME led growth and startup culture. So MSME led growth, you have again schemes like PLI, e-Shram portal, Udyam, that Udyam scheme, something is there. Okay, so all those can be there. Now MSME, they already employ 11 crore people employed. Also, I would rather add one more, the points, it's not in the notes, but promotion of agro-allied sectors. Yeah, agri-allied sectors. Okay, this is as per Ashok Dalwai committee. Ashok Dalwai committee, he talked about doubling farmers' income. Agro-allied sectors, for example, poultry, dairy. Now these are, and of course the sunshine sector in India, that is food processing industry. Now these are highly labor intensive. Also, India has huge potential because the average income is going up. Because the average income going up, the people spending capacity has gone up. People will move to foods which are processed food, easy food, ready to eat food. So there is a huge scope of food processing industry. Also, farmers have to look for alternative income beyond the traditional agriculture, and thereby allied sectors has to be invested. Agroforestry, fishing, poultry, dairy. So they can also create jobs, or they can create alternative jobs, extra jobs in the same ecosystem. So that might address the issue of disguised unemployment in rural areas. Okay, so these are the pointers that you have to look into it. So whenever you are writing answers, you are reading from so many sources, but try to bring it at one place. Okay, so Ashok Dalwai committee, okay, that is the promotion. 1.25 lakh registered startups, employment potential across sectors, MSME employ 11 crore, but formalization, credit and tech upgrade is needed. Also, you can add here creation of anything which creates job, what we are looking at. Then developing urban infrastructure, rural urban infrastructure, that is urban infrastructure. That means what is urban? Creation of urban facility in rural areas, the urban infrastructure. So migration will come down. There is a concept of Pura, provision of urban amenities in rural area, that was given by APJ Abdul Kalam, and that concept was taken by the government, and that is where urban mission is being created, where we are augmenting the rural infrastructure in terms of primary health centers, education centers, vocational skill centers, colleges, developing the urban facility in rural areas at basic level. Okay, so these are the areas for job creation. So that is the exercise that can be done. Now you can look at, after this you can write a conclusion. Write a conclusion. Now one thing is, remember, see, when you are trying to write, suddenly you have so much points, but you don't know how to improvise and write in a time bound manner. So always when you are thinking, always think of that specific keyword. Okay, for example, the specific keyword which you can remember by multiple revision, and that keyword can be explained, so you understand the keyword also. For example, urban development, urban led development. Okay, so when you are doing this repeatedly and consciously, your answer writing will improve. Then coming to the conclusion, again the conclusion would be India must capitalize its skilled, educated and productively employed population, and the focus should be on diversification and creation of jobs, so that we are able to reap the benefits of demographic dividend and attain the Laksh of Vikshit Bharat by 2047. So such kind of statement can be given. Why I am saying this, that you can't just memorize the conclusion introduction. You can write good introduction, good conclusion, but you can improvise by thinking. Once your basic thought process is ready, you can write good answers. Then I will refine it. Okay, so demography is destiny, but only if we prepare for it. So that completes the model answer. I hope this exercise was healthy. Now today I am sure you are not able to write, but if you carry this exercise regularly, if you do it for 15 days, pick a topic, revise it properly, thoroughly, and write PYQs in that area. You will struggle in the beginning, but if you do it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, believe me, your confidence will go up, because suddenly your revision part, the way you are studying your notes, the way you are approaching your notes will change. Right now you're just doing passive reading, passive learning, and you're assuming that I have understood things, my learning is intact. But I'll tell you, it does not work that way. But once you revise, make an effort, the learning part will get improved. This is something that students don't realize, and they prepare for UPSC for 3-4 years, and then they realize that answer writing is weak. So answer writing is a process which will require you to analyze the issues, thought process, converge in 2-3 lines, able to sum it in 2-3 lines, very brief communication and time bound. Multiple revisions are needed before going to the mains examination. In fact, I would say that you might require 10. Okay, so that completes this topic. Now let's start with, let's start with a topic called inclusive growth. So there are 4 subtopics that I've listed. Now again, as I mentioned, I'm not going to teach you what is inclusive growth, but let's discuss the concept of inclusive growth before going ahead. So this topic, it isn't mentioned in the syllabus, inclusive growth. So how do you define inclusive growth? Inclusive growth is growth for all. Inclusive growth is growth for all. Okay, rich, poor, there's no divide. But what are the pillars of inclusive growth? Just think of it, and I want you to participate. Just think of it. How would India achieve? Because when moment you say inclusive growth, a growth which is based on trickle down theory, which assures that the benefits of growth reaches all, irrespective of, that means there is no divide, rich, poor. So inclusive growth is growth which is based on rural development. That means rural urban divide should not be there. Inclusive growth is a growth which mainly focuses on creation of employment generation, because employment, or you can say gainful employment generation or productive employment. Inclusive growth is a growth which has concept of gender inclusion. That means gender is also, women are part of the growth. Inclusive growth is a growth which is based on human development. Human as the center of development. Okay, that means it will focus on education, health, skill. If you make such diagram, automatically things will work. Inclusive growth is a growth which focuses on infrastructure development. Inclusive growth is a growth where there is affirmative action for weak and vulnerable. Inclusive growth is a growth which is based on concept of financial inclusion. Inclusive growth is a growth which is based on the concept of labor productivity. Okay, so labor should be skilled. Productivity means you should be, moment you are skilled, you are more productive. So remember, if you know AI, you are skilled. If you know something which is uniquely you are employed and you get a very high remuneration. So these are the pillars of inclusive growth: job creation, infrastructure development, rural based development. Okay, you can add more points. I have added how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think this is sufficient for mains examination. So always brainstorm. What is inclusive growth? A growth which reaches all. Who? People, women, men, urban area, rural area. Okay, is that clear? So you have to pick a concept, open it. You know everything. Only thing is that you have not done the brainstorming. And since you have not done the brainstorming, the points are not on the tips. The points are not on the tips. Tips, not trips. Now coming to there are 4 topics. Now there are 4 topics from growth to inclusion, India's development imperative. Now in this, the topics which are bold, moving from jobless growth to inclusive growth, measuring socio-economic disparities in India. Now if you look at this topic, why it is being discussed? Because government came with the data, and moment you put on the Google, now let's say the moment you have a the best source is PIB. You can see here. Last year, October. Okay, this data came where government came with the concept of inclusive growth. Government itself said that the growth has become more inclusive and India has moved from jobless growth to inclusive growth. And all the data, 170 million jobs were created, employment rate increased by 36%, a shift away from jobless growth. So this is a contemporary topic. So UPSC might ask, I'm quite sure that, because there is a controversy on this. Some people believe that the story presented by the government probably is not entirely right. The data is okay, but still. So you can see here the unemployment rate has come down drastically from 6% to 3.2%. That means job creation is happening. That is where. Then the worker population ratio has increased from 46 to 56%. Now you will use such data. So, let's see the first topic. The first topic is inclusive, jobless growth to inclusive growth. Jobless growth to inclusive growth. Okay, so data points. What are the data points? The first data point, how many jobs is created? 170 million. 170 million. 170 million jobs created. Period 2017-18, 16-17. Now these data are important, remember, 2022-23. Okay. Then the second part is employment velocity. Now this again is a data. Employment velocity has increased to 1.11%. For every 1% GDP growth, the employment generation is 1.11. That means we are generating more jobs in comparison to GDP growth. Okay. The second is unemployment rate, decline in unemployment rate. Decline in unemployment rate from 6% to 3.2%. Okay, so this very important. And where it's all coming from? Periodic labor force survey. You can look at this survey, periodic labor force survey. It's a report from Observer Research Foundation. Okay, it's not. Even you can say that periodic labor force survey suggests that. Now remember, consumption driven growth. You can also add point here. Consumption driven growth. What do you mean by consumption driven growth? A growth led by consumption of the people. Okay, so if you look at the GDP, what is the formula? C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Now here C is consumption. Now this is your aggregate demand, GDP, this GDP. So the growth is coming from consumption driven growth rate. Though it is not advisable, the growth has to be investment led. So India is witnessing consumption led growth because of the high population, more working age population, higher income or increase in income. Okay, the next is, of course, I discussed the employment velocity part. And increase in worker population ratio from 46 to how much? Worker population ratio 46 or 46.8 to 56. Okay. I want you to, these are the primary sources. Normally in the coaching notes or somewhere, what they do, that they take the summary of this. But these are very good sources. And labor capital ratio in the economy as well is 1.1 and service sector is 1. Okay, leave it. Okay, Economic Survey of India says improved labor market indicators, sectoral distribution of employment, decline in youth unemployment, rise in female labor force participation, recovery in organized, wage growth in rural area, expansion of EPFO payroll, gig economy is growing, manufacturing led growth. Okay, so these are the areas. These are the areas which are telling you the growth story of India, and this is something that you have to understand. Okay. Now, if you want a good introduction, see this. India's employment landscape has improved significantly with government policies, skilling programs, and economic growth contributing to job creation. Now, if you can write such lines, or you just pick this line and add in your notebook, you don't have to do much thing. This is a contemporary topic in news. Just Google it. Take the primary source. Don't worry about a coaching note, or that could be good. That could be good also, but this will also work. Okay. As India leverages its demographic dividend, further investment in education, health, skill will be critical for sustaining the positive employment trajectory. So I'm saying that again, it will not come in one day, but see the statement, see the line. You can put these lines in your answers, in your notes, and revise it multiple times. Use these words can be brought in your answers, but this will come with a lot of effort and improvisation. Okay. I'm telling you the methods how you can increase your score, how you can write good introduction, how you can write good conclusion. Normally students believe that okay. You don't have to worry much. Stick to the primary source. Your majority of your prayers will be answered by God and Government of India sources, right? Okay. So jobless growth. Now let's see the topic. Okay, so what are the PYQ based themes in the inclusive growth? The inclusive growth is one theme. Second is capitalism versus inclusiveness. Now there is always a debate that, and 2-3 times question also come. Can capitalism lead to growth? Now what you will see that the questions have changed. The questions have changed, but theme remains the same. The question approach is changed. For example, once there was a question that can market economy lead to growth? Second time, capitalism has led to unprecedented prosperity, but it has its own challenges. So India adopted capitalist model of the economic system in 1991 with the era of LPG. But after that, what we witnessed that capitalism is based on regulation. It is not unbridled capitalism jahan kuch bhi ho raha hai. This capitalist system is actually creating opportunities also, and government is able to get huge income through the taxes and other sources, and government is able to pump the money in the welfare programs and boost the challenges, boost the positives. For example, the poverty has declined, which was as high as 45% in 90s to today 5% at current level. Okay, so capitalism versus inclusiveness. Can capitalism lead to inclusive growth? The answer is yes and no both. Normally there is an assumption that capitalist system cannot lead to growth. But if the government makes an effort, and there is a concerted effort from government, that the virtues or benefits of capitalism are pumped towards the inclusiveness. For example, when we talk about labor, employment, we can create labor reforms, we can have gig-based social security, we can have working hours, we can define minimum wages. So capitalist system is regulated, and it is also providing positive jobs. Challenges to inclusive growth. What are the challenges? The same challenges. Low skilling, poor infrastructure, backward agriculture. Okay, whatever are the positives? Okay, low female labor force participation, right? Poor infrastructure, or agriculture. There are issues of supply side bottleneck in agriculture. Low you can say utilization of factors of production, lack of access to credit. That means financial inclusion is poor. So you just have to interlink things. Financial inclusion. What is financial inclusion? Financial inclusion, which means the access of financial services to the lower income group and poor people. So very easily you can just pick the theme. Whenever you see the theme, can I define it? Do I have a data on this? Yes, 52 crore people have opened Jan Dhan account. More than 50 crore people have got bank loan through Mudra Yojana. Okay, DBT, direct benefit transfer. More than 130 lakh crore of DBT has happened from last 10 years, where Jan Dhan, Aadhaar Mobile, JAM Trinity is the game changer, right? Corporate social responsibility. Now this can also be in news. This was in news in 2013, because CSR, where the profits of the private sector is utilized for welfare. Sustainable development versus inclusive development. So today we are talking about sustainable development, climate resilient agriculture, precision agriculture. Okay, we are creating mechanism where how environmental balance and economic growth can both sustain together. Equity, again, it is a topic we can link with environment. And demographic challenges we already discussed. Care economy versus gender inclusion. Now, gender inclusion means women are part of the labor force, workforce, benefits, better employment opportunities, better benefits in the informal sector, treating women as equal, reservation to women, following Vishaka guidelines at the workplaces. So we have lot of data which can suggest that. Women-led entrepreneurs, okay, creating entrepreneurship for rural areas, National Rural Livelihood Mission, which are based for women BPL workers. We have schemes like Ajivika in Bihar, Kudamashri in Kerala. These schemes are focusing on gender inclusion. Care economy is the women again who have to be nurtured. So there is a concept of universal basic income, UBI. Can women be rewarded for the care work they are doing in the economy? A woman who is taking care of the household responsibility is not paid anything. That is care economy. It is not monetized. So care economy versus monetized economy. So when you look at these themes, the theme will repeat. Just ask yourself, are these themes relevant even today? Answer is yes. The question will be asked around the same themes only. Okay. So when you are looking at these topics, you understand that how we can use them. I would advise that whatever these themes are there, you should know basic definition with fact and data. As simple as that. Basic definition, 1 or 2 line, 3 line, 3, 4 fact data. This has to be readied. Moment you do that, believe me, you will be your approach will be easier. Okay. Now, coming to jobless growth to inclusive growth. Jobless growth is a situation where there is not equivalent or commensurate employment generation in spite of high GDP growth, and that is mainly because of growth of the capital intensive sectors or low employment velocity. Okay. Inclusive growth, the first concept of inclusive growth actually came in 11th 5-year plan from 2007 to 2012. Then also again we discuss the concept of inclusive growth. Inclusive growth means the benefit of growth should reach all. There should be a trickle down effect that creates productive employment and benefits all sections of society, rural, urban, rich, poor, everybody. Okay. Now what are the jobless growth? Now again, let's assume there is a jobless growth. Now I gave you data which government gave recently that India has moved from jobless growth to employment generation or inclusive growth. But there are data which suggests that in India we have challenges of informalization, unemployment rates are higher. There are still issues of disguised unemployment. There are still issues of lack of skilling or skill mismatch. Structural issues are there. High unemployment among the youth, 17.3% in urban area. This is the latest data. So in the same topic or same report, you have data which will suggest things otherwise. Okay, what are the causes of jobless growth? Why we are, the first reason is, I'm not going to explain this, I'm sure you must be knowing that. The first is the jobs are not being created. That means the growth of non-labor intensive sectors, capital intensive sectors like service sector, finance, manufacturing, manufacturing which are capital intensive. Then low MSME productivity. The MSMEs are small, they're not generating employment as we can expect them to. Even though they contribute 30% of GDP, they are informal in nature, they are very small, they cannot compete with the big player. Skill mismatch, Indian graduates are unemployed. Labor informality, 90% laborers are informal, are in casual jobs. So we have also witnessed a phenomena called casualization and informalization of labor. Technology substitution, industry 4.0, or technology replacing job, AI replacing low skilled or routine jobs, and thereby we need inclusive growth which are labor employment generation. And already I discussed, remember, how we can create jobs. Okay, we can invest in human capital, we can focus on the areas which can create jobs. The new upcoming sectors which are labor intensive or employment generation, digital economy, EV or green transition, or putting the efforts in the labor employment generation sector. And why inclusive growth is needed? Because it will create a balanced society, or creation of egalitarian or equality based society is the need of the hour. Okay, so we have wide inequality. Again, you can add data here is about Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient talks about income inequality or wealth inequality. Okay, so the data are very important, and then you can give the measures taken by government which can push or create inclusive growth. Remember all the pillars of inclusive growth? Just think of government schemes. So financial inclusion, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Skill development or employment generation, you have Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana 4.0, Skill India Mission, okay. Then Startup India, Stand Up India. Then financial inclusion, Mudra loans, so that investment can happen. Then infrastructure development, PM Gati Shakti, which is a dashboard system for creation of infrastructure in India under National Monetization Pipeline or National Infrastructure Pipeline, and create jobs. Then digital public infrastructure, UPI, Aadhaar base, these will drive the economics, they will drive the gig economy. Today gig economy is driven by them. Today the lot of KYC is done by the digital public infrastructure. Even private firms, for example Zerodha and very many firms are using Aadhaar based authentication. All government welfare services are using Aadhaar based authentication. Even the private services companies are using Aadhaar based authentication. Okay, the banking services, all these will create what? Job, benefits of job. Okay, then there are challenges. Okay, we can also look at the challenges. Again, same informalization of job, gig worker, lack of social security, rural imbalance, regional imbalance. There are areas which are more industrialized and they are creating jobs. There are areas like Bihar and UP and other areas which are not creating so many jobs. Limited job elasticity in sectors like IT and finance. Why? Because they are not absorbing labor. Okay, then again the same thing. How do you create jobs? The same points. So when you look at there are key points which are repeated. The key examples, key fact is repeated. You just have to use them to the context of the answer writing. Are you getting my point? Yashika, Viral, Amrit, Kanika, Pratik. Okay, so we have to understand. Then we have government schemes like Aspirational District Program. We have Niti Aayog's Life Mission, Life for Environment, Clean Energy Sectors. Okay, we have 8 missions under environment to promote environmental-led growth. Okay, then we can write a conclusion. Jobless growth undermines the very essence of inclusive development. Thereby, GDP centering growth model, which is based on equity, should be there. And you can use like we need economic resilience, social harmony, long-term sustainability, and align with Amrit Kal vision for 1947. So you can use this statement. Such statement can be used. You can write in your notes. This is from Niti Aayog. See the words: economic resilience, social harmony, long-term sustainability. Who will use such words in the answers? Very few. Moment you bring such words in your answers, your answer is next level. Your answer is the next level. I've been evaluating copies and very few people are able to write it. I was going through one of the person who scored 120 in GS3. So I was going through his copy in one of the coachings, the model answer. I thought I will share it, but I thought maybe there will be copyright issue. That's why I'm not sharing here. So moment I saw the answers that were written, they're very cut to cut, very brief to the point. So when you are writing good answers, you have to be very exact. What is the requirement of the question? Are you able to explain it? And add more dimensions. Dimension means go beyond economics. Add environmental dimensions, add sustainable development dimension, add dimension which are linked with IR or geopolitics. So they will add benefits to that. Okay. Now see, is inclusive growth possible under market economy? State the significance of financial inclusion in achieving economic growth in India. This was 2 years ago. What are the salient features of inclusive growth? Has India experiencing such a growth process and lies and suggest measures of inclusive growth? Don't you think both answers are same? Almost similar. Almost similar. Specifically, they are talking about financial inclusion here, but you can see a lot of things are common. So don't worry, the questions will repeat, the theme will repeat. In UPSC Mains, the best part is that every topic that you are studying, you will be able to repeat that. Almost mains question you already know. If somebody is telling that, see, in my notes the mains answer came, well, you have covered the syllabus properly, definitely 80% question will come from there. So there is no rocket science here. Okay, so this is the first topic that I discussed. And I want you to brainstorm. Today, tomorrow we'll be doing answer writing on these topics. Measuring socioeconomic disparities. Now, this topic is important. Measuring socioeconomic disparity. Now, in the current context, this news is always there. Whenever we talk about India's growth story, alternatively, a new version also comes that see, India is growing, but what about top 1%? They have 50% of India's, 40% of India's wealth. The bottom 50%, they have just 3% of India's wealth. India is still the recent the World Bank poverty. Now, one data which I want to share with you. So, World Bank poverty data came, right? So, as per World Bank poverty line, it is how much? $3 in terms of PPP. Now, $1 as per the World Bank that has taken is 20.6 rupees in Indian currency, which means the poverty line in India as per World Bank is 62 rupees. Okay. So, this is the poverty line in India per capita. This is per capita. But this World Bank data is for extreme poverty. Extreme poverty. So, as per this data, the poverty in India is hardly 5%, 5.3%. Poverty in India is 5.3%. It has decreased. This is 22-23, and this has decreased from 27%, which was in 2011-12. Now, this data is given, but there's one more data which says that for low income country or low middle income country, the poverty line is around $3.8. I'll have to check this. And based on that, the poverty in India is 27%. People who are BPL are 27%. Now, Congress, the opposition party, is giving this data. Government is giving this data, but opposition party is saying, they see we are low middle income country, thereby the poverty is 27%. Because low middle income country, any country whose income is more than $1,000 to $3,000, $4,000, that is low middle income country, up to $5,000. So India's income is how much? $2,700, $2,800 per capita, per person. So, but there's one more data, and that data will surprise you, that in the higher middle income, from lower income to higher middle income, I think it is around 271 rupees. I have to check this data. 271 or 171. I think 271. So add per this data, I have to check this. Don't worry. 82% people are poor. So this is per capita. Which means in India, if somebody is earning more than 271 rupee, that number is just 18%. In India, if you're earning more than 300 rupees, as per World Bank data, that number is just 17-18% per person. So family of 5 means they're earning how much? 1,500 per day. So any family which is earning more than 1,500 per day, that number is very less in India. So I'm just telling you that the same data can be interpreted in different fashion, the way you look at it. Again, I'm not going to go into, because this is in news from last 2-3 weeks, and in my channel I have discussed it multiple times. Okay, in this channel, Economics Simplified by Pramod Sir, this is a YouTube channel, you can check. I have discussed this part routinely. I have 2-3 videos are there on this. So I'm quite sure that UPSC will ask questions from there, and such contemporary issue I'll be taking, I'll be adding those in my, after the series is over, I'll be taking separately some topics which are very contemporary, current based. So I'll be covering because they are not available in your notes. Okay, so that coming to this socio-economic disparity, why we are discussing? Because in spite of high growth rate, India is witnessing inequality, wealth inequality, income inequality, and the top 1% hold 40% of India's wealth as per Oxfam inequality report. Bottom 50% own 3% of national wealth. In terms of job, we are witnessing a phenomena of informality of labor or informalization of labor. 90% labor are informal sector, and they are not secure. Youth unemployment is very high, as high as 17%. So among youth, young people, the unemployment rate is very high. Okay. Then in education, the gross enrollment ratio for higher education is very less than 30%. The female literacy and male literacy, there is a wide gender divide. In healthcare access, the public infrastructure is not up to the mark. Half of the out-of-pocket expenditure is coming from, you are spending half of the medical expenditure in India is coming out of pocket. Digital divide, still rural internet penetration is less. Okay, per capita income, yesterday we discussed the per capita income of Bihar is maybe 54,000, Haryana is 2.7 lakh. Okay, we have huge divides in terms of development deficits in northeast, in tribal belts, and in the aspirational districts, which are 112 in nature. So India is witnessing high social, economic, and geographical disparity also, regional disparity also. We have states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, who coastal Andhra Pradesh, they are witnessing a high industrial growth. But at the same time, we are witnessing states like Bihar, UP, which are laggard in terms of development. Okay. Then there are tools to measure disparity: multidimensional poverty index, human development index, Gini coefficient. Now, Gini coefficient means inequality, income inequality, or wealth inequality. So here, if the number is high, it is bad. Okay. So all these datas, remember, you have everything. You have everything. Just that how to use it. And the points are interlinked. The points are highly interlinked. I just have to understand how to use them. Then government efforts, DBT, PM Jan Dhan Yojana, Ayushman Bharat, all these are measures which are basically addressing the regional disparity, income disparity, wealth disparity, available of basic amenities, skilling programs. Okay, all these. So let's just think of the economic growth pillars, think of the problems, and think of the solutions in terms of government schemes. And you need to have data, in fact, related to that. Okay, so you don't have to memorize, you have to map it. Make a small flowchart, interlink the points, put a fact data, government scheme, key points, the keywords, and relate to data. Maybe write 2-3 times, revise it multiple times, add contemporary data. If you get good quote from economic survey or from Niti Aayog report, use them. Don't worry, I'll be giving that to you. What are the challenges of disparity? There are issues of underreporting, data not there. Okay. Then we need to get real-time data, decentralized governance, focus on backward region, gender-sensitive metrics, integrate sustainability and equity. Now there is a concept, explain intra-generational and intergenerational issues of equity from the perspective of inclusive growth and sustainable development. Intra-generational and intergenerational. Intra means within the same generation. Intergeneration from my generation to next generation. So we have to understand, intra-generational means if I am poor, my children are also poor, same generation. Okay. Intergenerational is from one generation to another. So when we talk about, we have to understand, because normally this happens because people do not have access to asset. Now let's say you come from a family who is not educated, but you have land, you have asset. So you don't worry, even if you're not educated, you can survive. But imagine a person who does not have land, asset, and they are not educated also. So for them, there is an issue of lack of equity or lack of equitable development. Now see this question. The same question, capitalism. Capitalism has guided the world economy to unprecedented prosperity. However, it often encourages the short-sightedness and contributes to the wide disparities between the rich and the poor. In this light, would it be correct to believe and adopt capitalism in bringing inclusive growth in India? Discuss. Don't you think the question was repeated? Almost repeated. So theme is repeating. The best way to understand UPSC is PYQs. The themes will repeat. Prepare the theme. The only thing is that you should be able to decode it. Okay, this is the theme, and this theme I have read, and thereby I have data fact and I can explain it. Now, world has adopted capitalist system. There is no other way. Today, capitalism is a new way. It's a way to welfare. It is a way to economic growth. It is a way to employment generation. It is a way to reduce inequality. Yes, capitalist system by nature is exploitative and it creates divide. And that is where government has to come. It has to regulate it. Let's talk about countries like Scandinavian countries, Norway, Finland, Sweden. Now here government puts very high tax. The onus is on wealth creation, at the same time the focus is on welfare also. So government takes as high tax as 50% tax, but that is invested in people, on education, human development, welfare benefits, unemployment benefits are given if you are unemployed. So even though it is a capitalist system, government intervenes and brings a strong welfare measures. Okay, so it is not the capitalism the problem, it is the way capitalism is being implemented and way the welfare is being driven. Okay. In India, you can now see, this is the PYQ model answer I have added. Now I want to ask you all, do you think that session is helping you anyway? I want to know, is this session helping you in real? No. Yes. You want to speak? Somebody wants to speak? You can speak now. Unmute and speak.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Key terms related to the software.
Okay. Okay. But the key is in the execution, right, Monil? The key is in the execution. The devil lies in the detail. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Chalo. Okay. So, is inclusive growth possible under market economy? Answer is yes. We are market economy, and not today, since 1991. So when you look at the India's growth model, so India's growth story, or India's Indian economy rather, can be divided in two phases. The phase from 1951 till 1991, and from 1991 till 2025. So here we had a socialist orientation. Where India witnessed an average growth rate of 4%, 4% GDP growth rate. And from 1950 till 80, the growth rate was as low as 3.5%. This was termed as Hindu rate of growth. You can add these data also in the answer. Very few people will be able to write. Now here India witnessed an average growth rate of, now what India adopted here is, we adopted the capitalist orientation. From socialist we moved to the capitalist orientation. But it is in the economic system that we adopted capitalist orientation. Welfare was still there. In preamble, the welfare measure is there. Socialism is a word is mentioned in preamble. So capitalist orientation. However, the welfare is the prerogative of the government, and India witnessed a growth rate of maybe average 6% plus, 6.5% plus, or you can say between 6 to 7%. So this led to half, poverty is half. In fact, poverty is not half, it is maybe 1/8 or 1/9 of what it was in 1991. In 1990, as per the world data, the poverty in India was 45%, today it is 5%. So poverty has decreased from 45 to 5%. Okay. So poverty, now how do you use the data? So poverty declined from 45 to 5%. Poverty came down from 1990 till 2025. Okay. So these data is suggesting, can market economy lead to increase economic growth or employment generation? Today the unemployment rate is hardly 2 to 3%. 2 to 3% is the unemployment rate. So the same data can be used in a positive manner also, but here we have a challenge of unemployment youth. The youth is more unemployed. 17% of youth is unemployed. In general, population have job, but youth, they are unemployed. So they need to be upskilled or reskilled, or all those things are needed. So when we talk about the question, this question we were discussing, correct, that adopt capitalism, bring inclusive growth in India. You can discuss and tell yes, though there are limitations also. You can talk about limitations, wide income inequality, poor health index, human development index is still low. India is is 131, 132. Okay, India still faces the problem of high issues of malnutrition. One third of children in India are malnutrition. India faces issues of nutritional insecurity. Food security is there, but nutritional insecurity is there. Okay, so such topics, you have data to support the argument and you have data to counter the argument. Okay, financial inclusion in India, almost everybody is financially included. So all these data points can be used in the answers. So this is a model answer. I'll share it with you. Inclusive growth refers to process and outcome where all groups of people have participation growth and benefit equitably. And inclusive growth under market economy, more competition, more innovation, job creation. Trickle down effect has to be effective. Trickle down effect means the growth should reach the bottom. If the GDP is growing, agriculture should also grow, industry should also grow, manufacturing should also grow and create jobs at the same time. Okay, redistributive measures should be there. Social investment in education, health and skill can be effective. Financial inclusion should empower the sections of society. So this is the impact of market economy, inclusive growth, and these are the inclusive growth pillars. And then their data, the poverty has declined. Liberalization of telecom aviation sector, this has led to growth of DBT, JAM Aadhaar, and JAM Trinity, technology or growth of digital economy, rural penetration of industrial economy, UPI led growth. Now we are not realizing the benefits that is happening because of these technologies. Okay, then but there are contradictions also. In spite of that, the focus of job creation, now in spite of that, job is an issue. Job creation is a casualty at multiple levels. Okay, private sector cannot deliver public goods. The investment in health and education is very poor. Unlike in developed countries, it is 15%. We are investing 5 to 6% on health and education. The neglect of rural and underdeveloped region by private sector, because private sector is there to generate profit. So areas, infrastructure development, public good is not an area of that. Concentration of wealth, absence of subsidies affects poor, limited government role goes against the social welfare objective. Now see, government is not creating jobs, government is reducing jobs. Government is not creating jobs, they are reducing number of jobs. If you go for the requirement of jobs, you'll be surprised to know that in UP, in IAS, IPS, we have huge vacancies, but government is not employing the people. We need it. The population is growing. But why the intake of IAS, IPS is almost stagnant in last 10, 15 years? The population has grown from 120 crore to 140 crore, 142 crore. But intake should also grow at least, if not 25%, at least 10, 20%. Because government do not want to create jobs. They said, see, job creation is a prerogative of the private sector. We will create jobs only where is needed. Okay, so that is how the economy has to be seen. Okay, so that completes this. Now this is financial inclusion. Second part is what? Financial inclusion. Significance of financial inclusion. The benefits of financial inclusion, you can just mention here the benefits. Okay, investment led economy. Okay, access to banking and financial services. 52 direct benefit transfer. Leakages will reduce. People will have saving habits. Multiplier effect. It will create. You can get access to credit. Reducing poverty, because Jan Dhan account, they will make sure the benefit reaches you. Promote gender equality. Women also can use them at a benefit level. 52 crore Jan Dhan accounts, enhances saving and capital formation. Mudra Yojana accounts, 69% of women have Mudra Yojana account. DBT, 30 lakh crore since 2014 has been disbursed through direct benefit transfer. So financial inclusion is not just about access, it is about usage, affordability and empowerment. This is RBI's vision document. You can use this data or points. Financial inclusion is not just about access, it is about usage, affordability and empowerment. Government is giving such good lines. Why to use your brains? Okay, just note it down, few data. I'll just have some water. Okay, let's start. So now we are starting with agriculture, and tomorrow I'll be continuing these topics tomorrow, and after agriculture, budget will be covered. Then some small topics here and there will be covered. So agriculture, now what is the topic here? Major crops, cropping pattern. Now these are static topic. Your notes must be ready on them. Cropping patterns, various parts of the country, different types of irrigation and irrigation systems, storage, transport and marketing of agricultural produce, issues and related constraints, e-technology in the aid of farmers. Now, I have listed some topics. Out of these are the areas where I have made notes, because other topics are pretty straightforward and basic. So, organic farming in India, contract farming in India. Now, all these topics I'll provide notes, don't worry. But in this note, I have just highlighted the bold one, because I believe that these topics have a higher probability of coming in the examination. The chances of UPSC asking organic farming is less. It is there, but less. Contract farming can be asked. Then expanding India's footprint in the global agri trade. Now this has been in news in the last 1 year or 2 years multiple times, where government is actually trying to increase the agri export share. Similarly, natural farming practices, a lot of practices are natural farming, organic farming. Then FPOs are a very common topic, farm mechanization, strengthening agricultural marketing system amid global trade instability. Now here we talk about APMC, the markets. So these are static topics which are there in your class notes. So if these topics are ready, remember the static answers can be answered very easily directly. Then millets and their role in sustainable food system. Millet question came last year in the mains. Then shifting pattern in the crop cultivation, the changing cropping pattern, the topic is very static. Aligning irrigation practices with cropping pattern. Now new irrigation practices, drip irrigation, precision agriculture, all sprinkler irrigation or micro irrigation projects. All those areas you can expect questions. Schemes to boost farmers' income, again Ashok Dalwai committee. Modernizing agricultural data through e-technology. So technology in agriculture, e-technology in agriculture. So these are the topics where UPSC, the themes will be very much there and the questions would be asked. Now coming to the themes, let's come to the themes. What are the PYQ themes here? The first is millets, agri-marketing, integrated farming, micro irrigation, food security, crop diversification, transport and logistics, food processing, rice wheat issue. Now this was in news multiple times. In fact, in the last 1 or 2 months, in the explained section, multiple time rice wheat issue has been discussed. Why India is good, and the question has also been asked in the mains, but still India is going with rice wheat cropping pattern. In fact, you'll be surprised to know that even though we want to move away from rice and wheat, the most of the research that we have in India is towards rice and wheat. We don't have research in pulses or millets. The research is very less. So the crop yield is going up in rice and wheat only, and they are protected under the MSP system. So automatically farmers will go for these. At one end, you're talking about diversification of agriculture towards the other crops, but on the other side, the entire ecosystem is actually supporting the rice wheat cropping pattern. Then irrigation storage, MSP, very common topic, supermarkets, NHM, I have to check. Okay, cropping patterns. Then agri revolutions, subsidies, water use, allelopathy, land reform, Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, livestock, contract farming, APMC, rural credit, agri subsidies, and pink revolution. Okay, so these are the questions that have been asked in the last few years, last 12-13 years. Now, this topic is very important for me because I believe that this topic was in news. Government is actually trying to boost agricultural exports because agriculture is but let's see the data that we have for agricultural exports. Right now, our global share is 2.5%. You can note it down. But India is the top 10 exporters of the agriculture products globally. Focus now is diversification, value addition, trade facilitation, and non-tariff barrier management. Now, remember, as we are discussing today, government on the contrary is trying to have negotiations with USA, and they are asking for market access for agricultural products, and India has said no. These are the points. What is the current status? Agri export in India is 53 billion. And we have export commodities are rice, spices, marine products, sugar, buffalo meat, and cotton. Top destinations are these. But our global share is very average, just 2.5%. Okay. Now, what are the initiatives? Now, these data are very important. What are the initiatives? Agricultural Export Policy 2018, double agri exports promote value addition. Cluster-based export strategy. Now, these are the terms that you need to note it down. Example, grapes in Maharashtra, mangoes in UP. Infrastructure, okay, iridium units, cold chains, pack houses. One district, one product, ODOP. This is to promote a crop and that can be exported. A very good example is Kala Namak, Buddha rice from a Siddharthnagar district of Uttar Pradesh. So they are promoting this. Then APIDA, it is promotion of agricultural exports. Then we have signed global engagements and FTA. We have signed comprehensive economic partnership agreement. We have signed comprehensive trade agreement with Australia, UAE, and we are discussing with other countries. But then there are challenges. In agri trade, what are the challenges? First is SPS and TBT barrier. What is SPS? Sanitary and phytosanitary. Okay, agreements. And TBT is technical barriers to trade. So SPS is for food item and TBT is for non-food. So there are issues. For example, Indian food items, when they go for exports, there are pesticide residue norms, there are traceability. So it is being banned by the countries. Certification requirements are there. So these are non-tariff barriers against the agricultural exports. Then lack of value addition, okay, because our food processing is still on the lower side. Policy volatility, why? Because government suddenly, for example, we did export bans. Very routinely we do export bans. Now that is not good for external market. Then poor infrastructure, we have 15-20% of post-harvest losses. Okay, Indian products are not promoted globally, internationally. We still have to go a long way. Okay, you can give multiple examples. So these are the many times students believe that, sir, I don't have 10 points. Well, you can have 10 points, but first ready the 5 points. Make sure that your first 5 points are ready and revise it so thoroughly that you don't need to add 6th point, because even if you know 6th point, you will not be able to add to the answer. This is something that most of the people don't understand. Okay. Opportunities and way forward. How do we promote the agricultural exports? Promote agricultural exports, diversification of millets, organic products, processed food, develop infrastructure, food park, cold chains, PM Gati Shakti and Bharat Mala for logistics, avoid knee-jerk export bans, set long-term export vision, digital integration. Now here you can use technology, e-Sansa, blockchain, digital traceability for global compliance. Now these are some good points. Branding, promote Indian GIs and quality marks. Recently that Prada controversy, in Milan, the Prada international brand, they brought Kolhapuri chappal, the design is similar to Kolhapuri chappal. Now that is not related to agriculture, but the GI is there, it is in news. Strengthen India Brand Equity Foundation for Agri Products, IBF. You can go on the website of IBF also. Okay, so we need to invest in these areas. Enhances farmer income through better price realization, strengthen India's position as reliable food supplier. Okay, these are significance. Now these are data points. Now these are static topic. What are the bottlenecks for upstream and downstream process for marketing an agricultural product? What are the main constraints of transport and marketing of agricultural product produced in India? Simple agricultural marketing point, APMC, okay? APMC law, the limitations. So these are straight from the notes. So we'll just discuss two more this thing, and then we'll stop. And tomorrow, remember, I'll be sharing these two documents, and till the point I have covered, We'll have test tomorrow. So make sure you thoroughly revise these notes, your primary sources, whatever you've read. And I'll be asking the PYQs only. So the PYQs are also there. You can prepare those PYQs and let's practice it here. There's nothing wrong in preparing the PYQ, revising them and practicing here in the class also, because the themes will repeat. So if you are revising the PYQs or solving PYQs, it is anyway helpful. Anyway helpful. Okay, a lot of people feel that, so first I'll revise, study, and then you can directly prepare PYQs. Directly prepare PYQs and do backward integration. Revise your notes, then prepare PYQs, revise it multiple times, and then try to write the answer during the testing time. Okay, so natural farming practices, again I'm more concerned about the data and facts which can be used. So rising concern. Now, why we talk about promotion of natural farming? Because there is an issue of environmental sustainability, soil degradation, and thereby we are looking at evergreen revolution, or the second green revolution, which is based on sustainable agriculture. And for that, we have to mainstream the policy, training, and validation support. So natural farming is where the synthetic inputs are not used. For example, so we rely on the natural ecosystem. So we have a concept called integrated farming. Okay, urine, jivamrit, biomass, mulch, crop rotation, based on the principles of agroecology and zero budget farming. So this is natural farming. Then government initiatives. Now here again, remember, you have to understand the government initiative. भारतीय प्राकृतिक कृषि पद्धति. भारतीय प्राकृतिक कृषि पद्धति. It is a part of sub-scheme of Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. This is for organic farming. Promote natural inputs, local seed system, traditional practices. And so far we have covered in the 11 lakh hectare. In fact, we have this Ganga river. So government has identified the whole belt across the Ganga river where they will just promote the organic farming. Okay, so such measures are taken by government to promote organic farming, and the objective is to make sure that organic farming is promoted. Then we have schemes like National Mission for Natural Farming. It was announced in the last year's budget. Then you can also 30,000 farmers trained as natural farming advocates, based on गांव की और कृषि farming, or गांव की और कृषि farming closer to nature. Then we have state-led initiatives like zero budget natural farming in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, then pilot programs in other states, and the benefits is already we all know: reduce water usage, enhance biodiversity. Now you can, when you talk about benefits, so do multidimensional: environmental benefit, economic benefit, and social health benefit. So whenever you can divide into the 3 dimensions: environment benefit, economic benefit, the input cost is less, then higher net returns in long term due to saving and premium prices, environmental, better soil health, low carbon footprint, reduces water usage, and soil is safer food, empowers small and marginal farmers. Okay. So whenever you are writing, try to add multiple dimensions, shorter points, key fact data, and specific keywords have to be revised properly. What are the challenges? See the small yield concern, low per capita yield, poor market linkages. You can add poor market linkages, issue of awareness, lack of scientific validation, certification issues. So such pointers, and of course the data, if available, will help your answer and reach next level. If you see the topper's answer, this is what they are writing. But the point here is that you have to reach this stage, and for that at least 5-7 revisions have to be created. So first you create a short note and then revision. That is why I have given the short notes, because I am assuming that you have basic understanding of agriculture. I'm assuming that you have understanding of agriculture, you've read basic things, but now you can directly come and use these notes, or you can integrate them in the notes also, the notes that you have. So way forward Niti Aayog, promote farmer field schools and demo plots for knowledge dissemination. Strengthen farmer producer organization SHG for aggregation and marketing. Then launch natural farming produce label for branding and price. Now these are some words are little technical, so you have to revise it multiple times. Then there is a word called agripreneur. Okay, you can use such words. Agripreneur. Entrepreneur who's doing agriculture. Ensure convergence with other schemes, Manrega, NHM, ENAM. Integrate natural farming into national curriculum of agri extension. Invest in agroecology research. Okay, so these pointers might look little tough, but imagine if such pointers are there in your answers, nobody can come close to you also. So organic farming notes are there. So we are covering organic. One topic is covered like this: organic farming or natural farming. See the PYQ. What is integrated farming systems? How is it helpful for small and marginal farmers in India? In view of the declining average size of land holdings in India, which has made agriculture non-viable for majority of farmers, should contract farming and land leasing be promoted in India in agriculture? Critically evaluate pros and cons. So the good thing about agriculture or economy GS3 is that you know almost every topic, but to the effectiveness is the key. To what effectiveness you know these topics, and that is where revision, precision. And believe me, even I know some of my students are from economics optional. They are also not able to write good answers, even though they have good understanding of economics. But answer writing is a skill that can be attained by sheer practice. Okay, so I think that is, I'm stopping here. From tomorrow I'll be starting from millets, and I'll be adding government budgeting topic. I'll complete the agriculture and I'll be adding government budgeting. Okay. Again, there are some topics that I'll be covering separately. Remember, I'm not covering the static topic of agriculture because I'm sure you have read them. If you have read them, read them from any primary source. If you have some, for example, the coaching notes, if you have done coaching notes, that would be the most effective one. Okay, and avoid market sources, because in market sources you find that the notes is of 500 pages, 400 pages. Okay, don't do that. It is complete waste of time. Only pick the few, or even if you're going through the market sources, be very judicious in the judgment. Okay, so that is all for today, and tomorrow again we'll start with answer writing practice. I'll be sharing this with you also, but I'll be asking questions till the topic I've covered, inclusive growth and the topics that I've covered so far. Okay, any doubts anybody has? I hope you have understood things. Chalo, so thank you very much for your time and patience. Keep up the good work. We have 3 more days, and I'll be adding more questions in the terms of PYQs in the coming days. Chalo, take care. Bye.